Welcome back to the show, the Basic Ass Cooking Show. Today I'm going to show you how to make a leek and potato soup. So this is easy to make if you are like Spider-Man and you are far from home, as I am. So let me show you what you will need for this little situation that we're going to make. So this recipe is inspired by one that I found from the New York Times, actually. Potato-Leek Soup by Kay Chun. So I'm just like riffing off of what she has. But you can get some exact stuff from the description box or the blog post that I will write to accompany this recipe. So, all right, so we have chicken stock. We have the usual suspects of salt and pepper, just whatever you got, honey. You will need a bay leaf or two. I have dried. You can also use fresh. I am going to serve this with some croutons because potato and bread, yay, right? So I have some sourdough. I have 2 pieces left of this sourdough that I bought from Whole Foods, and it's very stale. So I'm going to use that to make my croutons. I'll also show you how to make the croutons. You'll need some heavy cream, and these are yellow potatoes. The recipe calls for Yukon Gold, but I could not find those. So this is close enough, right? And then you will need a leek. Isn't this lovely? I saw this and thought, what should I make with a leek? And here we are. You'll also need some butter. I'm using Kerrygold because this is all that I have in the refrigerator. This is all that I bought. So you have your cheaper butter. You want to use that. Use that for cooking, definitely. Kerrygold is so expensive. It almost feels like you should eat it with a spoon. But today we're going to cook with it, okay? And then you'll need some garlic. Just some plain old garlic, however you got it. And then, am I going to throw in a little bit of white onion too? I don't think so. I took this out because I usually just cook with onion, but I don't think you need that because the leek is our allium. I think that's the right pronunciation. All right, so I think we're good to go. You'll also need some way to wash your leek because they are dirty, dirty girls. So I am going to use this strainer, put the leeks in there, and then fill this with water and kind of get that going. You'll need 1 pot, and the recipe also calls for a blender. There is a blender in this Airbnb where I'm staying right now, but I don't know how trustworthy it is. So we'll see together. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is make my croutons. So I am going to turn on my oven to 325 and just hit bake. There are no baking sheets in this Airbnb. So I'm going to just use a little piece of aluminum foil. So we have that, and now I just need to, I'm just going to use this bowl so you don't have to dirty up a bunch of dishes. So I'm going to take out my bread here. And oh yeah, so I guess I should also mention you probably need some seasoning for your croutons, like however you want to make them. So I'll show you what I'm going to use in a second. So I'm just going to cut my bread into little cubes. You can make them as big as you want or, not. I would guess that these are about 1/2 inch wide. I'm just going to cut them this way as well. Doesn't really matter. You can also buy croutons if you are a wealthy person. And that's how you want to spend your money. But you can also just use your leftover bread. So here we go. And I made them kind of big. I'm also going to probably serve this with a salad. So you can have croutons on your soup and your salad. So now all you have to do is season your croutons. So I'm going to use a little bit of olive oil. You can use whatever kind of oil you want. You can use melted butter if you're feeling very fancy. And then you just need a little bit of salt. So this bread, I think, is the San Francisco sourdough that Whole Foods sells. And then I'm going to season with garlic. And onion. These are dried versions. And then pepper. So super simple. This is the worst pepper meal in existence. Okay, so now you just toss to try to, get stuff all distributed. And this bread is dry as hell, y'all. Okay, and now we're going to put our little croutons on the, hopefully you have a baking sheet. And you can put a little bit more oil or whatever on them if you like. I'm just kind of, I'm going to leave them as they are. And then I'm going to put this in the oven after it comes to temperature for probably about 5 minutes because my bread is super dry. But you just kind of toasty toast until it is your desired brownness. Okay, the next thing we will do is to start to prepare our leeks. So leeks are super dirty. That's pretty much the main thing I need to tell you about leeks. So I am just going to cut them into rings. You can also, which actually I think I will do this, you can also cut down the middle. And when you cut down the middle, you can actually see, I hope you can see, like how dirty it is in there. So I'm going to use all of it. You can also, after you wash it, save a little bit of the dark parts for the little sprinkle on top, and that would be very pretty. So now I'm going to cut these pretty thinly because, like I said, I don't know if the food processor here is like worthwhile. I don't know if it works. So now I have my bowl of water and I'm going to put the leeks inside and squish them around. Actually, this is not working as great as I want it to because there's too many leeks. So scratch that. So I'm going to put my leeks in this big bowl of water and agitate them a little bit. And I'm going to let them sit in this bowl of water while I get on with the rest of the recipe. And the silt will fall to the bottom because it's heavier than the leeks. The leeks are floating, and not sure if you can see on camera, but I can see that the dirt is already starting to float to the bottom. But you do want to agitate, squeeze, move around the leeks quite a bit in order to encourage the silt to release from the leeks. So, okay, so I'm going to set this aside while I get on with the rest, and then I will remove the leeks and rinse them one more time. So getting on with the rest of the recipe, I am going to take a pot, whatever pot you have. This is the pot that's in this Airbnb. And put it on the stove and start it on probably like a good medium high heat. This is an electric stove, so you know they get hot. And this is a cheap pot, and it will convey heat very easily, I think. So now I'm going to take my butter. The recipe calls for 2 tablespoons, but I'm going to make basically like half of the recipe. So with my clean knife, I am going to estimate about a tablespoon and put it in the pot so it can start to melt. And while the butter is melting, I am going to just chop up the potatoes. So I'm going to use the same methodology, I guess, or idea about chopping this stuff up, because I'm not sure about the food processor. So I'm going to chop the potato into kind of like small-ish chunks. And you can definitely peel your potato if you like. I don't have the mental bandwidth to peel these potatoes, and I also don't think I have a potato peeler here. So yeah, do what you can with what you have. So with my potatoes all chopped, I am going to rinse them, but I'm first going to rinse the leeks and get them into the pot. So with the leeks, the silt has hopefully gone to the bottom. So you don't want to pour the water back. You don't want to like dump this in here and like get all the leaky dirt back in here. So I am just scooping these out with my hands. You can definitely use like a slided spoon if you have one. And the theme of today is I don't have one, so I'm doing it this way. But you can see that it was, relatively painless and easy operation. So now I'm just going to rinse one more time in the colander to make sure all of the silt is out of the leeks. Oh, you can definitely see, I hope it shows up on camera, but you can definitely see all of the dirt at the bottom there. See? You definitely want to make sure you do this. So I'm making a little bit of a mess, y'all. So I'm going to rinse out all of that. So coming back over here to the stove, I'm putting my sad little pot back on the heat. And now I'm going to add the leeks to the butter. You can see that the butter is melted. And I'm going to turn this like to medium. And now I'm going to put in my leeks, which are so fresh and so clean. I'll spread them out a little bit. So at this point, I'm going to season a little bit with salt and pepper. The salt helps to facilitate the cooking process for the leeks. So just a little bit, and some pepper. I miss my pepper meal from home. This little spoon. And I'm going to stir it about, stir the leeks into the butter. It smells fantastic in here, you guys. Absolutely freaking fantastic. So I am going to let this continue to kind of saute a little bit again on like a medium. So now the hard part is done, you guys. All we're going to do now is chop up some garlic, and we will chop up this garlic while our leeks are cooking. So the recipe calls for how much garlic? I know I'm going to put way more in here. Oh my God, 1 garlic? Absolutely not. So the recipe calls for 1 garlic clove, and to me, if you want 1 garlic clove, by all means. But I refuse to go through the labor of chopping up garlic for 1 clove. So I'm going to use, I think, 4. They're kind of little. I'm going to chop up this garlic. So I also stir my leeks. You can see that they're starting to release water. And that is what you want. So I'm going to keep on stirring those. So now my leeks have been cooking for probably about 3 minutes. And they are soft and very fragrant. So now I'm going to add my chopped up garlic. Try to chop it up pretty finely or use a garlic press. And stir that in and let it saute for just a few moments while you get your potatoes washed. I did not forget. So let me rinse my potatoes. All right, so now we have our rinsed potatoes, and I'm going to add a little bit more pepper. So I don't feel like this is coming out that easily. So just trying to do what I can with what I have. All right. So now we're going to add our potatoes and the broth and the bay leaf. So for the broth, we need, let's see, about half of this. If you're going to make half, the recipe roughly, this is 32 ounces, so this is a quart, so you need about half of this, but I'm going to just see. And this is just regular old chicken stock, y'all. I feel like I have included too much potato to follow the recipe ratios, right? So I'm going to add all of this actually because I have a lot of potatoes. And that's on purpose. I love potatoes. And I feel like a potato soup situation should have potatoes. So, okay, yep, I made the right choice. Adding all of the chicken stock. So now I'm gonna kind of incorporate it. And we're gonna have our bay leaf. Let's move this out of the way. All right, so now we got our bay leaves. This is a brand new little situation we got here. So I'm gonna pull out, I'm gonna put 2. These some big ass bay leaves. Well, that first one was. Okay, why do they give you this with this kind of stuff? Like you can't shake out a bay leaf into that little thing, but that's okay. Thank you, manufacturers. So I am going to gently, try not to break the bay leaf up into like a million little pieces because it'll be easier to get it out at the end. So I'm going to gently incorporate. If you have a bigger pot, I don't, but if you have a bigger pot, you make sure you pull it out. Okay, so here we are. So we're going to just let our soup, I'm going to add a teeny bit of salt. Season as you go, you know. So I'm going to add a little bit of salt, not too much. Just like a nice little pinch. And now we're going to let the soup cook. Stir that in. We're going to let the soup cook until the potatoes are tender. So I will try to find a lid. Hold on. Will this work? Hell yeah. All right. We're in business. So I'm going to keep it covered and I'm going to let it cook just until the potatoes are tender. So that might take about 15 minutes. So I'll be back. All right, it has been actually 20 minutes and I am going to check on my soup here. Despite this being on low, this is still boiling away so aggressively. I don't know what to do. But it is not sticking to the bottom of the pot. So that's something. So let's go ahead and try out one of the potatoes and see if they are done. This smells fantastic, by the way. So, oh yeah, very tender. So I'm going to turn off the heat now and just give it one more stir. And I'm going to taste it first and see what the broth is like. Okay, it is good, but it does need quite a bit of salt. So I'm gonna add just like a quarter of a teaspoon. So with salt, I'm very cautious because I have a very salt sensitive palate and I don't like food that's too salty. So I just add a little bit, taste, add a little bit, taste, add a little bit. So I'm going to do that now and get it to my liking. All right, I think we're almost there. I'm gonna add just a little bit more. That might be too much more. Just a little bit more. And I might make it just a hair more salty than it needs to be because we're gonna add the cream as well. So I think that should be good to go. So I'm gonna pick out my bay leaves, just the big one. So I cannot find my other bay leaf. There it is. Here's my other bay leaf. Okay, thank goodness. All right. So find your bay leaves. All right, and so I'm not going to deal with the food processor that may or may not work. I found this sad little thing here. This is a whisk. So I am mostly just going to leave this chunky, but the potatoes are very soft. So I'm just going to gently kind of squish them around here. And that's why I also cooked the soup a little longer. So as you squish your potatoes around, or if you use your blender to properly, mix them up and such, the soup will get, a little bit thicker because you are basically stirring potatoes into it. Broken up potatoes. So you can keep going, but I am now tired of doing this. So I think I'm gonna stop here in a second. Okay, so fantastic. So now the recipe calls for how much cream? Let's see here. 1 cup. So I'm gonna shoot for maybe, maybe about that amount. Let's see here. That was probably half a cup. And I'm gonna stir it in. I'm really just stirring in the cream to make the soup look creamy. You know what I mean? And if you have a gas stove, you may need to slightly warm up the soup, but I'm doing this over one of these electric burners that is still warm even though the stove is off. So look at that. That's looking like fantastic. Fantastic. So let's get it in a bowl. All right, so we have our bowl here. And I'm gonna serve up our soup. Oh yeah, this is lovely. I meant to not make a huge portion, and I did anyway, thanks to all of the potatoes. So this is my lunch for today, you guys. I don't have any parsley or any fun things to put on it. I do have my croutons here that I almost forgot in the oven for too long. But I have my croutons here. so you can arrange a few croutons on the top as well. You can serve this with a salad, which I was going to do, but I started working. And now this is done, but my salad is not. So I don't know if I'll have my salad, but here is my potato and leek soup. So I hope you try the recipe. Leave me a comment. Let me know if you do. And I hope you enjoy it. This is a really nice way to start kind of getting in the mood for all of the fall recipes and soups and such that we will enjoy soon. But you can enjoy it now, even if the weather is still 90 degrees outside where you are, like it is where I am. So make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for checking me out today on the Basic Ass Cooking channel. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.